Hey, Louise here, and look, we have a potato chip block we're working on today. This isn't just any potato chip block. This is the fastest potato chip block, and I'm going to show you why. Because there are a couple tips, a couple tricks that we're going to do that will make it quicker and become the fastest block you make. Right here, the center. We're cutting it at 8.5 inches. That way, we're saving ourselves, I think it's 10 individual blocks that go in the center. And so by using one large piece, it makes it all go together easier. Secondly, we take our strips like this and we sew them all in together, not all of them, about 3/4 of them, into pairs. And then I just chain piece them all. And look at all this. Every one of these is sewn into a pair so that when I am ready to get started, I'm good to go. I have all this done. I sit at the machine, I roll it through, and I just do one after the other. Now, I want to show you how it works with these pairs, these strips that are sewn into pairs, because we have a 2.5 inch by 4.5 inch, just like normal. That's pretty much the standard. You can go smaller and larger, but 2.5 by 4.5 is what most folks are familiar with. So in order to get this center square to fit, it needs to be the same size as those center rounds. And that's where we are, 8.5 inches. This equals 8.5 inches. So now what I'm going to do is take all 10 of these and I'm going to sew strips to one side. Then I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to do the other side. So it's just all chain piece. And then when that's finished, I'll get these pressed. And I'm going to come in with my doubles pairs that I've sewn together, but I need to add one more. So I'm going to take 2 for every block, 2 pairs that I've already sewn, or I can make up more depending on how many you made, and I'm going to add one more to each of these. Then I'll come back and I'm going to add this all together here. I'm going to show this to you on the machine so you can see exactly what it is I'm doing, but this is so simple. I do want to show you a couple quick reminders about color. Remember, we want to make sure we have a lot of variety, and I do. I have a ton. And if you've seen these last 2 videos that just came out, they show you all the fabrics I'm using. But remember, darks to light, and watercolors work great. And you can just, cut a bunch of these and add them in. Any colors that work with your group is going to be perfect. Now you see those are all charm squares because I really enjoy using my charm square. And they're pre-cut, and I pre-cut my fat quarters into charm squares, so I always have plenty. Sometimes I'll just cut them into 5-inch strips. Whatever is needed in the moment, but I like my fat quarters because they give me a lot to work with. Save these. I'm not sure why yet, but we're going to do something wonderful. Now, I cut a 1/2 inch off, so now I have 4.5 by 5. I cut these in half, and now I have 2.5 by 4.5. Do the same thing with your layer cakes. Do the same thing with your jelly rolls and your fat quarters. Do you know you can get over 30 of these out of each fat quarter? Yes, I've counted. I've done the math. So let me go ahead and get started. I want to take you to the machine and show you what we're going to be doing here. Here's something very special I want to share with you today. Pamela from the Sarnia Quilters Guild sent this to me, and it is a booklet of 33 different potato chip block quilt patterns. And she's given it to us for free, and she's given me permission to make it available to all my subscribers. So there will be a link down below in the description, and all you have to do is click on the link. It'll take you to the page where you can put in your information, and then you can download the PDF directly online. And it's something that you can save to your hard drive and have forever after. But there are some wonderful designs in here I think you'll really enjoy. So don't miss this one. I want to share a bit of color scheme wisdom with you. This is what I do. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's what everybody does or needs to do, but this might give you an idea of how to create your own way of putting your fabrics together. I love scrappy quilts. To me, a scrappy quilt is just a quilt with a lot of fabric. It doesn't always mean it's scraps. Scraps to me are those leftover corners and ends that are ravelly and I don't like looking at, but I use my stash. And originally, when I first started making quilts out of lots of small pieces, I call them stash quilts. But, you know, people like scrappy. That's what I have to go with because that's what we call it. And here we are, scrappy quilts. You can still colorize your scrappy quilt. For me, what I like to do is combine similar colors so that throughout the quilt, there'll be a couple blocks throughout that have similar colors side by side. And it kind of blends it together so you don't see lots of just individual rectangles with colors, random colors that don't really do anything together. Sure, it's a great way to use scraps, but we can make them so much more beautiful. Okay, when I cut my pieces, I cut my rectangles up to 8 of each one. Now, I'm doing 10 blocks per group of colors. So 8 of these will be repeated in 8 of the 10 blocks. Now, what I do is I grab 8 more pieces. Actually, I think this one only has 7. That's why there's 7 here. I grab 7 more pieces that will work with it, that will enhance these colors, that will draw it out. So, for example, right here, I'm going to put this batik in. And why? Because there's purple here, there's blue, there's green. It all works together. And, oh, it's even darker on this side. That's what I love about batiks. You can choose. It's even prettier. Oh, my goodness. You know what? I might have to move it this way because now I get the blue and green even closer. Okay, this is fussy, but I love quilting. I love my quilts. I love my fabric. And I want them to be beautiful. And, you know, folks talk about being able to recognize my style. This is probably one of the biggest things I do that set my quilts apart from somebody else. And I'm going to continue teaching some of these ideas because I think it's a great way to put your colors together. You know, we can certainly throw them all in a bucket, and I'm going to show you once I'm done with these larger piles of strips. I just go random with everything that's left. Now, this will be kind of nice because it just sort of adds a little background, a little spot where, you know, somebody's eyes can rest when looking at this quilt, because there's a lot to see in a scrappy quilt. So this is sort of a restful point. Now, this is similar in that way. I think I'll put it this way. And you can add just some fun colors. In this case, it's about shades of purple on this particular. And it's like a watercolor. There's a lot of colors in there. Now, this brings in more of the teal than the blue, but look at, there's a bit of purple in there that I think looks wonderful. And each of these scattered throughout the quilt are going to bring a certain amount of attention. They'll be drawing the eyes of the viewer and go, ooh, I like that one. Have you ever wondered how somebody can pick out a particular piece of fabric in your quilt and go, ooh, I like that? It's because it's a focal oh, you know what? I bought some 2.5-inch strips that were not 2.5-inch strips. It was a jelly roll. What a disappointment. We're going to put that aside. Okay, I know I was somewhere. I'm going to come back. Oh, they can pick it out. It's often because of not just that fabric, but the other fabrics around it. They're making it really pop. They're bringing out the color. They're using an accent color next to it. So the next time somebody says that to you, then I got to put that aside. Then go ahead and look at what you have. Okay, that's too pink. Let me show you another one. This is fun. So this is one of the fabrics of my collection. Remember, this is the Tango by Kate Spade for Moda. And this is all from the same collection. So I thought I bought this fabric because I really like this collection. So I want to keep some of the fabrics together. and they are perfectly matched. And so the colors all work great together. See, there's the little peach centers in these flowers that are the same peach in the block, in the other block in the flower. And so I just put this together in a way that I find appealing. Now see, look, I'm going to add some gold because there's some gold there. So this gold is actually going to be more of a neutral, but it's going to allow this pretty flower to stand out. It's got a little gold in there that matches up. Oh, and of course, this is where we bring out the bold color. And we just say, look at that gorgeous peachy salmon, orangey, not quite orange color. And these are the points that are going to really brighten up your quilt. And let's see, I'm going to put this over here and line this up. So this is what I do when I start. And I will do the, oh, you know what? I only have one left, but you can see I just sort of grab them. Look at this. This has nothing to do with this. This is a batik, and this is a cotton print. I love these colors. Look at that blue. Oh. So yes, this is going together, but that's okay too, because this is a surprise. You go, oh wow, I didn't expect that. So there's some real interest in the quilt. So when you're sewing your fabrics, think about what you can do to really invigorate your colors, you know, bring them alive and show some really fun combinations. But you see how each of these look different. So even though these are going to be throughout the quilt, you're not really going to say, oh, look, that's duplicated X amount of times. No, you're going to say, oh, what gorgeous colors. So I understand scrappy. I know it's great fun just to throw a pile of these in a bag or a basket and pull them randomly and do it. And that's okay for half your quilt. For at least the other third to one half, put a few blocks together intentionally, because this is going to just really add some pizzazz to your quilt. Okay, now I'm going to go do the rest of these, and I'm going to show you what I have left, and then we're going to start putting these on the center square. That's some fun. I showed you how I use a bundle of a particular color and mix it with a lot of colors throughout the quilt. And I sew these up and I use random pieces. Now, if it's a light color, oh, here it is. If it's a medium color, I want to use some mediums, some darks, as well as some lights. And if it is a light color, same thing. I'll match it up with a couple lights, but I want to bring in some mediums and darks, and I want to focus on some of the colors in here. And then here's another one, same thing. Now, when I do that, and then I'm down to this point where I just have one or two of these, one or two of those, I start pulling them out. But what I do is I go light, medium, and dark. So if I pull something out of here, I'm going to match it here or here. Now, I will either lay these out next to me or put them together in a group or in a pile, and I'll do like maybe a light, medium, and dark pile as I'm going. And that way I can make sure I'm getting contrast. Color scheme and incorporating more of the color scheme pieces is going to really bring a cohesive look to your quilt. But by adding light, medium, and dark, remember we've talked about these, and look at like some of these. Where's the purple ones? Like this. That was a really good example. And so when we have light, medium, and dark in our colors, we're creating contrast and accent colors. So by doing some of these, we're focusing on our primary colors. So this is one of the focal color groups, because that was one of the fabrics in the fat quarter that brought all this together, and I'm using a lot of coordinating fabrics with this. So I really want this to stand out. And the best way to do that is mix it with some lights, mix it with some darks, and also mix it with some from within the same color scheme or the same collection. And it's just going to draw those pieces out. But don't forget, you've got to add some random pieces. Now look at this. this, oh my gosh, Mrs. Quilty, you got to love some of that Mrs. Quilty quilt fabric. And I found a batik that I like. Look at this. But look at this, and look at how well that goes with these, and how well all that goes. So once you start pulling colors together, see what works together. And at least a third of your pieces should have some thought behind the combination. And then the rest can go every which way. But those pieces are going to hold your color scheme together and create some contrast and very interesting visual areas throughout your quilt. One thing before we go further, we talk about the size of these blocks. Everything I'm using right now are 2.5 by 4.5, and that's wonderful. But there is another option. 2.5 by 4.5. Let me get something to put this on so we can see. Y'all have asked about how can you resize this block. You resize it with a block that's twice as long as it is going to be wide, or long and wide. I don't know, however your finger works in the direction. So this is 2.5 by 4.5. It's going to finish by 2 by 4. So that's a double. So it's double on one. It's double the length than the width. Do the same with a larger. I made the most beautiful potato chip block with this, and you will love the layout. I'm going to put that link up above because it's sort of on point, but it's a little bit of just using triangles, almost like a half square triangle. Oh my gosh, you will love how this turned out. And what I did is I wanted to go larger, and because I was using Southwest fabrics, and I wanted those fabric prints to really dominate so you could see the Southwest theme within the fabrics. This is the beautiful pile. And so they all came out the right size. When I was cutting my fabric, I came up short by like half an inch, half to 3/4 of an inch. You want to make a fast quilt. And what I've done here, these go together really very quickly. Left the you need larger pieces of fabric to work from. This won't work in every scrap pile or stash fabric pile that you have. I had mostly fat quarters, and I had some stash fabric, some yardage that I had. So it depends on what you have on hand. But imagine that in this pile. I can't. Oh, it's still on the ironing board. Table runner, something small, because I want to show you how I did a lot of fun. I thought this was pretty ingenious. Okay, so I took these four fabrics together, and I thought, so you remember, I've got to come up with something. No, but the part that made it challenging is after cutting all these blocks, I cut a total of 20. All I had was a strip that was less than 2 inches wide. Luckily, that's all I needed. But I was afraid to start cutting this up without knowing if I'm going to have enough if I cut it here. So what I did is I put my 4 blocks together, just like this. And this is the side that needed extra fabric. And so what I did is I put this down the center. And I said, okay, where does this match up? Well, look at right there. That matches good. But what I found first was this piece. See how that works? I sewed it together. I did almost a 1/2 inch seam, and I pressed this open because I don't want this seam to be really prominent or to, stand out higher. And that's going to be next to blocks like this. So that seam really isn't going to stand out. It's just going to blend in and be totally unseen. So what I'm doing now is I'm taking these pretty fabrics and I'm going, well, oh, look at how pretty that looks. So what I liked about this here is if I put this one, I liked putting that one there. Let's see, how did I want to do this one? Do I want to do it this way? So I'm going to have to play with this a little bit because I'm really, I love my, oh, look at, oh, there it is right there. The leaves match, the colors are similar. Okay, right there. So I am going to take this piece and cut it while I have it, and I will pin that together, and I'm going to bring this edge to this edge. Now notice it's not even. So my first cut into this fabric was not necessarily even. And what do I want? I want those leaves to fit in right there. So see, I've got about 1/4 of an inch here. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in right there. And I'm going to take my seam here, and then it'll be just like this. So what you can do with leftover fabric, don't throw anything away till you're finished with the quilt, because you don't know what you might need. And because it has all these wonderful colors, it could potentially be used for something else. Don't you love this? I'm going to, you know what? I'll put the link down below. I bought this on Etsy. I love this. And it was this color scheme that sold me, but they have so many others like this. You've got to check it out. Etsy. I've got it down below. Don't miss it. Okay, there we are. All right. So, oh, and I need to show you my pieces. So here are the ones that I sewed together that I was chatting about and talking about how pretty they are and how wonderful they go together. You see what I mean about, you know, we're mixing them up, but yet we're doing a nice blend as we do it. Now it's these purple ones. I really want to see how the coneflower worked out, because these are wonderful. Okay, they don't want to come apart. I've twisted things up. But just look how pretty that is. And so there's going to be these splashes of purple throughout the quilt. And that's okay, because look, we have it in the center. I pulled all my colors from these blocks. Now, if you haven't seen the previous 2 videos, the prequels, so to speak, of this video, you've got to check them out. They're shorter, and I did that intentionally because I knew this one was probably going to take a while, and I didn't want to have a 2-hour video. But don't miss it. There's a lot of fun things in those as well. Okay, time to go. It's time for me to get my centers and get my pairs and start sewing on to my blocks. And before you know it, this is all going to be finished. Oh, I love this. Can you tell? I can hardly stop talking. Sorry, but I'll stop now. I have my squares, my center squares ready to go, and I have my pairs, and I'm going to start sewing them on. We're going to use a 1/4 inch seam allowance, as we always do. And when starting, hold on to your top thread off to the side, just so it doesn't knot up on you. And we start, okay, a little forward, there we go. All right, then I come down and I grab the bottom ends together, and I'm going to hold this seam open. That way I can make sure it does just what I want it to. There we go. And you see how easy that works with that seam. I mean, it just kind of lays right where it needs to be. Now, I'm being a little particular so that I can have my purples with my purples. So the first one I'm going to put on, I'm going to sort of, you know, line colors up a bit. It's because I think the colors in these center squares are so pretty. All right, and then I finger press a lot of these. And I'm just going to go through all 10 of these, and then we will be ready to go. Oh yeah, let's get that green up there. Sorry, I keep hitting the camera. It's right here by where I'm sewing, obviously. It's pretty close to me, so forgive me if I bang it around too much. But you see how fast the sewing goes. That is the first strip of round 1, and we'll put the second one on here in just a moment. And then once we get this pressed, we'll be ready to do the following 2 strips. And instead of pairs, those are each going to have 3 rectangles. So right now I'm just going to turn it this way, and I will start grabbing my fabrics. But first, I need to get some more. And we're just going to do this second strip. All right, the first half of round 1 is taken care of. I'm going to go press these, and then I'll be back, and we will do the same thing again. You see how fast these blocks go together. All that pre-work of cutting and piecing ahead of time saves so much time when you're at your machine. That's the way I like it. I've added a third rectangle to my strip, so now I have 3, which will go on this side here, and I have 3 for the other side. So this is going to finish our first round. And let me show you, it's very simple. Now, I keep everything pressed in the direction that I'm sewing. And let me just go down here, get in the right place, and just finger press along the way, and then line up my bottom corners. There we go. All right, now I'm just going to sew through. All right, you see how fast that was? That's what I love about this point, because everything is going quickly right now. And let's see, so we're going to put this one right here, and we'll come this way, line my corners up here, and begin to quilt. And that's it. So now round 1 is finished, and this block is so pretty. Let me get these pressed, and I'm going to show you what they look like. Round 1 is complete on 10 blocks, and I just want to show you how beautiful they look. The large center square, because it has a large print, really stands out. And the fabrics that I pulled in are all pretty much replicating the colors in the fabric square. So if you buy a select a fabric that you really like that has a lot of colors, that really opens it up to a lot of variety in your prints. And I just want to show you how pretty these look. Oh, I'm just so excited. But you see, there are lights and darks, and some have more darks than others, and it's okay to put, similar colors next to each other. Actually, I kind of did that because I like the pinks next to the flower, and, put some greens in and put some teals. And so it's just about spreading out your flowers. Yes, we're pretending we're in the garden, spreading out your flowers. How about spreading out your fabrics? And so they look like petals. Okay, here we are. Whole new thing. This is my flower center, and these are my petals. Oh my goodness, I can't believe that. You know where my head is today. All right, there we are. Now, what's next? We have our next round. Remember, first half, second half. Now, we're going to do the first half, which will be 3 strips, just like we pieced these together. And then the last rows, the last 2, will be 4 and 4. So we can take our pairs that we have left over and join these together, and they're going to go around the outer edge. I'm telling you, sewing these in pairs in advance saves so much time. All right, let's get ready to go. We've got more to do. I'm ready to begin round 2. I have my 3-piece strips all sewn together, and I'm going to start on the sides. So always keep your block in the correct direction where the first piece of the first row is on the sides. And you're going to always start from here and then go here, and then you turn around. And you'll know because this has the least number of strips. This only has a pair where these have 3. So we're going to put 3 here, and then we'll put 4 here. So just keep that order, because if you don't, then you're going to find out that your seams are going to need to be matched. Everything's going to line up along the seams where we want them to be offset, which kind of really blends all the colors together nicely. So I'm going to just grab one of my pieces, and I'm not pressing these. And what I do is at the end of the row, I press everything outward. And as I'm sewing, I'm going to show you on this piece that all my seams go towards me. So as I sew, the presser foot goes right across the seam. Let's see, where are we? I'd have to go this way. Right across the seam. And so the seam allowance is tucked right where I need it to be. And then I come in and press everything outward. So I will go ahead and do the sewing first, and then do the pressing. And I have some interesting colors here. I already have a lot of blue, so I'm going to take this over to this side here. And what I'll do is finger press my seam. Now I finger press it from the back, and I use my nail, and I score it pretty good. And I just run the tip of my finger along the seam. I will tell you that you don't want to finger press on the top of your fabric, on the top of the seam, because sometimes when you do that, the fabric will sort of bunch up as you go, and you'll get these little tiny creases or pleats, and they're so annoying, and they can be difficult to press out. So do it from the back. It just makes life easy. Did you catch what I almost just did? I had this lined up here, but you see, I had turned this, and I got my seams on top of each other. We always want them offset like this. So this is where I need to be, because I have a three-piece strip, and I attach it to the two-piece strip. Oh my goodness, nothing like making a big mistake at the very beginning. So let me go ahead and hold my thread, and there we go. Remember, hold your thread so you don't get knots underneath your fabric. And it kind of keeps everything right where it needs to be. And I'm going to place this. Now, in the second row, you're going to find that you'll have one seam that goes against everything else. And that's because everything is pressed to the outside. So that's one seam that's not going to go in the same direction as all the others. And so these are finger pressed, and I'm getting everything right in line. All right. Now, ordinarily what I would do is just keep on sewing and chain piece them, but I just want to show you real quick here how this goes. So I've done this first side. There's my pair. I come to the other side. There's a two strip here, and here's my next piece of fabric. I'm going to, I'll just put the light to the top where the darker one's there, and put the darker one down here where it's light. And that just sort of spreads the lights and darks around, as well as the color. And we'll just get that lined up and get this so it's finger pressed in place. Put the ends of my block together. I just want to make sure things line up before I get started. And this way I can hold on to my seams and make sure everything's where it needs to be. I tuck that seam underneath, and we're off. So I think you can see at this point how much quicker it is to pre-piece your strips. And then as you're sewing, you're just going to add one after the other to your blocks. Just be sure you have them in the right direction. Don't do what I almost did and put it on the wrong side. So I'm going to get this done on all my blocks. So I'll have the first half of round 2 finished. Then I'll come back, and because there's 3 here, I'm going to create my strips of 4 rectangles, and those will go on each side. Now, you already have a bunch of pairs sewn. Whatever you haven't used so far, you're just going to sew those pairs together, and that'll give you your strips of 4 rectangles. So see, it just keeps getting easier every step of the way. Just check out this 64 by 80 inch beauty. Oh my goodness, it is so pretty. I love all those colors. Those center squares are wonderful, and the colors are bright. Oh my goodness, they are just gorgeous. I put a photo here with the near final assembly so you could see how I put it together. If you looked from the left to the right, you see I put 2 pairs in a column, and then a second pair in a column, and then I did the last strip of just singles. And that just was more manageable, and then I put it together, and it looks terrific. This is really, really exciting to see how this came together. So this is video number 3 to get this quilt finished, but I do want to add a border, and I want that 64 inches to be a little wider, not quite 80, but I'll probably add another 8 inches, and I'm going to do that with potato chip rectangle borders. That's hard to say, but it's going to be wonderful. And I think you're really going to appreciate how it goes together. So one more to go, and then this quilt will be finished. I can't wait. This has been such a busy couple weeks getting this quilt, a fast quilt, and it took me that long, but there's been a lot to include, and I know you're going to love it. So get started on your own. There's no excuses. You have everything you need to make this quilt. And I do appreciate you following along. Thanks so much for being here. It's always such a pleasure to share my quilts with you. And I hope you have a great rest of your week. And think about lots of fun quilting in your future, because that's exactly what I'm thinking about. Have a great day now. Bye-bye.